Welcome to the NXT Podcast, your home for weekly NXT reviews and insight.
The beautiful part of NXT is that when one dream ends, another dream begins.
Find all of your NXT news, recaps, and analysis right here. So with that being said, we only have one question for you.
Are you ready?
We thought so. Let's get the show started right now.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Memphis Mark is on location doing something else, so you are greeted by the one and only, the gardener, Michael Gross, and I'm going to give you your NXT report. Now, I am no expert at recording, so please bear with me. This is going to be my first time for you folks. Alright, so NXT last night was, it was decent, it was okay. It wasn't anything that I would write home and say that you really needed to see. The long and short of it is they're pushing the return of Ilya Dragunov. I believe that's his how you say his name. And Carmelo Hayes continues to impress everybody with what he can do in the ring. Now, let's talk about what happened. Let's give you the quick and the short of it, all right? So first of all, we had Zoe Stark versus Sol Ruca. Obviously, Zoe Stark wins this. Nothing to talk about. Then we had Dabba-Kato versus Dante Chen. Now, the big thing here is that they're talking about why Dabba-Kato and Apollo Crews don't get along, and it all goes back to that really terrible storyline that they pushed on the main roster. Once again, this was your basic squash match. Dabba-Kato has a long way to go before he can actually emerge as a true giant and a true, I guess the word I'm looking for is a real force to be reckoned with. He has a lot of work to do for us to take him seriously. So we'll see what they can do with him. I think a good couple years in NXT, and yes, I said a couple years, is going to pay off for him well. Especially the fact that he's no longer General Z's already helps him and helps his credibility. It was just so silly what they were doing with him up on the main roster. Then we had Isla Dawn with Alba Fire versus Tatum Poxley and Ivy Nile. Isla Dawn wins. It's, once again, nothing to write home about. And Carmelo Hayes versus JD McDonough. Now, I like McDonough. I like the fact that they're importing so many people from NXT UK, which is such an underrated product. When I first came onto the show, before I was actually an audio contributor, I was primarily a writer for the WWEpodcast.com. And my article that actually got me on the show was when I wrote about NXT UK. And I had gotten something like 1,500 views on that article, which was amazing. And so the traffic that we got on that alone was just out of the frame phenomenal, and I was really proud of it and really happy about it. And so to see all these people who from overseas were imported, like Dragunov and like JD McDonough, makes me happy. It makes me know that, you know, a lot of these people weren't just released, they weren't just signed to make sure that no talent could go elsewhere and then not used. They've been used, and it's great and it's phenomenal, and I'm really happy about it. So I see a lot of things from McDonough in the future. I think that he's going to be one hell of a contributor for NXT. I think that he's going to be in their title picture. The problem is they don't know what to do with taking that belt off of Braun Breaker, because he's the only person they've really built during the Vince McMahon splashy goofball color era of NXT. So we just got to see. Then we have Valentina Perez versus Lyra Valkyria. Lyra wins. It's a decent little match. I mean, you know, you have some brass knuckle play in there, but it's silly. Just kind of silly. I don't know. Not really my thing. Then Odyssey Jones versus Tony D'Angelo. I've always been a fan of Tony D'Angelo, but unfortunately Stacks wins. So I think tonight also I had only seen one dreaded roll up, so that wasn't all that bad. Then we had Chase U versus Pretty Deadly. I'm just at a loss here. This whole Pretty Deadly thing is, I mean, are they zombies? Are they like high school zombies? Are we watching the movie Night of the Creeps? Like, I just don't get these guys. Chase U and Pretty Deadly, though, actually put on a decent match. It started off pretty blasé, but I got to say it was really, really good. And I was actually surprised by the amount of talent, but the problem with this is these guys are... I just don't know what's going on with these gimmicks. I'm all about gimmicks and people having something, that makes them more viable, that you really want to watch and you want to see. But Lord, I just do not get what's going on here, and I don't get between you've got a couple throwbacks to Happy Days with Chase U, and then you've got these human zombies that are just, I don't know. That there is some talent underneath, but it's not my thing. There's better ways to present people. I could name a million of them off the top of my head, but unfortunately, I'm pressed for time, and my job calls me all the time. So I just gotta say this was really weird. And then for some reason they bring Bayley into NXT, and I just don't understand it. Like, if you want eyeballs on your product, Bayley's talented, she's great, but she's not the one I'm bringing in. I would definitely go with somebody else. I mean, obviously you want to spotlight what's going on at the end of the show, and you're doing a lot with Toxic Attraction, whatever. I don't know. It just for a silly, heel turn at the end. It was a goofy segment to really spotlight and end the show with. So, folks, it was an okay NXT, and I'm sorry that this is a very, very brief product and it's not a very long podcast, but unfortunately, Matt knows and a lot of people know I work a lot, and so basically, this is just my first recording for everybody, and I just want everybody to enjoy it. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.